when we get to chapter 10, we have what's called the vision of a man. And I don't know what your vision of a man is. If you're a woman, what you think a vision of a man should be, or if you look in the mirror on Monday morning and you are a man and you think, what a vision of a man. I'm not sure that's the vision of a man I'd like to take out into the world today. I think I'd like to do a facelift or whatever. But a vision of a man is very understated in what it says. We're going to read from verse 1 and see how we get on. So, chapter 10 of Daniel, either sit back, relax, and look at your telephone on the passage, not the news, or read with me. Daniel chapter 10, verse 1. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a revelation was given to Daniel, who was called Belteshazzar. Its message was true, and it concerned a great war. The understanding of the message came to him in a vision. At that time I, Daniel, mourned for 3 weeks. I ate no choice food, no meat or wine touched my lips. I used no lotions at all until the 3 weeks were over. On the 24th day of the 1st month, as I was standing on the banks of the great river, the Tigris, I looked up, and there before me was a man dressed in linen, with a belt of fine gold from Uphaz around his waist. His body was like topaz, so bright blue. His face like lightning. This is most unlike any person that I know. How many people do you know with blue skin? How many people do you know with a face that looks like lightning? Topaz isn't blue. What colour is topaz? Goldy brown. Okay. Golden brown. No, we've heard yellow from over there. So we had blue, golden brown, and now yellow. Anyone want to say red? No. His eyes like flaming torches. His arms and legs like the gleam of burnished bronze. And his voice like the sound of a multitude. This is like no individual that I know. Even Elvis didn't do this. Not for me, he didn't. What about you? What kind of an individual is this? I, Daniel, was the only one who saw the vision. Those who were with me did not see it, but such terror overwhelmed them that they fled and hid themselves. So I was left alone, gazing at this vision. I had no strength left. My face turned to deathly pale, and I was helpless. Then I heard him speaking, and as I listened to him, I fell into a deep sleep, my face to the ground. A hand touched me and set me trembling on my hands and knees. So this is like going under surgery, and the surgeon says to you, don't worry, you won't feel a thing. What they don't tell you is you're going to feel it for the next month every time you try and move. But for the moment, you won't feel a thing. And they give you some gas, or they somehow render you asleep. And then you open your eyes and it's all over. But here, this is not like that, because it's like the anaesthetist says, I'm going to put you out, but actually you're fully aware of what's going on. Daniel is on the floor as if dead and asleep, and yet he is now aware of all the things that are happening around him. A hand touched me, verse 10, and set me trembling on my hands and knees. So the hand pulls him up to his hands and knees, and he's trembling. His muscles can't take the weight. This is like going to the gym and trying to lift 3 times your own body weight for the first time, and it's like your arms are moving and shaking and your legs are quaking, and everything feels as though it cannot take the weight. And that is how Daniel feels at this point. He said, Daniel, you are highly esteemed. Consider carefully the words I'm about to speak to you. So in other words, concentrate. I'm going to tell you something really important. Your arms and legs feel as though they're about to give way. Don't worry, I haven't come to destroy you. I've come because you are greatly esteemed. You are greatly honored in heaven. And I have a message for you. And stand up, for I have now been sent to you. And when he said this to me, I stood up trembling. Then he continued, do not be afraid. I think we'd all be afraid. That is just totally the wrong thing to say, isn't it? Don't worry, the plane is crashing, says the pilot. You'll be all right. Oh, really? How do you know? Oh, no. And you are all right, because it doesn't crash. And he continued, do not be afraid. since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and humble yourself before God, your words were heard. Click. How long has it been? Did you remember in chapter 10 and verse 1 we read, at that time, verse 2, I mourned for 3 weeks. So 3 weeks, 7 times 3, how many days? Hello? Hello? Are you awake? 3 times 7. 21, thank you. Any advance on 21? Anyone think it's 23? No, it's 21. 21 days of mourning. And then it says, I ain't no choice food or meat or wine, touch my lips, verse 3, no lotions, until the 3 weeks were over. On the 24th day, so 21 plus 3, 24 days after he starts mourning and starts calling on God, I was standing by the banks of the great river, and the vision comes of the man, and I'm going to call him the burning man, as that is very topical at the moment. The image of the burning man comes to him. 24 days of mourning, 24 days of calling on God. And God says, verse 12, do not be afraid, Daniel, since the first day you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard. Daniel could be thinking, well, why didn't you tell me on day 1? I've been here for an extra 23 days. This is like, waiting for something or someone to happen, and they say, well, I could have told you that the first day. But this is like 3.5 weeks later. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Then it says something very interesting. Verse 13, but the prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me because I was detained there with the king of Persia. Wow. So we have Michael, Saint Michael, or Angel Michael, and we have the king of Persia, or the prince of Persia. Now I have come to explain to you what will happen to your people in the future, for the vision concerns a time yet to come. So he's going to tell him what's going to happen to the people of God and what's going to happen in the future. Why was Daniel praying? Verse 1 says, in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a revelation was given to Daniel. Did he wake up one morning and jump out of bed and bang, suddenly God gives a revelation? Oh my goodness, what was that? Where did it come from? No. After 26 days or 24 days, God gives understanding and this vision of the burning man. After 24 days of this man mourning, it says. What does mourning mean? Verse 2, I mourned for 3 weeks. Why was he mourning? Why was he so upset? Why was he so unhappy? What had happened that made him feel like someone had died? Mourning means what you do after someone has died. When something terrible has happened, people mourn. They don't just mourn for other people. They can mourn for their jobs. They can mourn for their health. You can mourn for many different things. It is a deep sense of anguish within the soul. And so here he is mourning, and he's mourning for 24 days. What on earth is so bad? I mean, this guy has it together. He is a Babylonian superstar. He is a Persian high achiever. He has made it through the ranks, being a lowly Jew who was brought over from Jerusalem. He has gone through the ranks and he has become the king's right-hand guy. He is the person, the go-to one when there are problems and wisdom required. He was your man. He is at the highest level of the political tree. How can he be unhappy for 3 weeks? I mean, good grief, if you had all of that power and prestige, would you be unhappy? Well, yes, people with lots of things are unhappy as the rest of us. People who are high achievers are as unhappy as the rest of us. At times, we all mourn. And so what is he mourning about? Daniel, what are you mourning over? Now here, I think there is a bit of a problem, because verse 1 is a bit mangled. The Hebrew, which is the original language, not the English, I'm afraid, or not whatever language you speak, that's not the original of the Bible. The original was Hebrew in the Old Testament. The Hebrew here has become a bit mangled, and so different versions of the Bible say slightly different things, but it's okay. We do not have to have an intellectual crisis over this. It's okay. So, what are the choices? Number 1. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a revelation was given to Daniel, that's fine, whose name is Belteshazzar. Its message was true, and it concerned a great war. Okay. First World War, Second World War, War of Independence, war of this, war of that. A great war. In the Spanish version of the same Bible, translated into Spanish, the Spanish translators go a slightly different way, and they talk about, wait for it, the message is true, and they say, it's a vision about a great army. A great army or a great war. Well, it's a little bit different already. But then you have another version, so the authorized version, which is like the oldest of all the Protestant versions, and the New King James Version, that says this: the message was true, but the appointed time was long, and he had understanding of the message. The appointed time was long. What on earth does that mean? It means that from asking the question to getting the answer was a jolly long time. It took a long time to get the message. So, is it an army? We're having a big war, or I had to wait an awfully long time to get the answer to my message? I've thought about this for 7 days. A lot, which is a bit sad, but I have. I think, personally, my personal opinion, and you're very welcome to your own, is this. I go with the time is long. And the reason I go with the time is long is because you have to ask yourself, why is this guy mourning? Why is he so sad for 24 days? If you turn with me to the book of Ezra and to chapter 4, Ezra tells us about the going back into Judah after Cyrus has said you can go back and restart your building. A few years later, this happens after a number of months actually, and he says in Ezra chapter 4 and verse 23, it says this: as soon as the copy of the letter of King Artaxerxes was read to Rehum and Shimshai, the secretary and their associates, they went immediately to the Jews in Jerusalem and compelled them by force to stop. They said, you must stop building these walls. The king, on behalf of Cyrus, has said, you must stop, so you must. Hello? Stop! Yes. And then it says this: thus the work on the house of God in Jerusalem came to a standstill until the 2nd year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. So for months and months, no building, nothing. Added to that, the number of Jews who actually made this very long journey back to Jerusalem, all the way from Babylonia, was very few. What great disappointment there must have been in Daniel's heart as he hears this message. Now remember, the message comes to him after maybe a few weeks, because he's part of an enormous empire. And he is distraught. He is just done. He is undone on the inside. He is just absolutely on the floor. He is just beside himself with grief. And that's why he mourns. It does not say he fasted. It says he mourned. This is not fasting. This is mourning. This is not saying you must fast and God will answer all of your prayers. This is saying in your mourning, in your sorrow, in your distress, in the destruction of your soul, as you pray to God, if you pray to God, he will hear you and answer you.